Only a player like Vini could score a ridiculous golazo like this.
Vinicius Jr. Oh, that is magnificent.
And somehow the conversation ends up being about everything except the football. That's the reality around him. He might be one of the most talented players in the world, but he's also one of the most polarizing. You either really love him, or you really can't stand him. There's no middle ground. Even some Real Madrid fans have gone through that cycle this very season, with the Bernabeu itself booing him at times. In many ways, Vini and Ronaldo feel like the only players who have been booed everywhere, away stadiums, rival grounds, and even their own home fans. You see, after this absolute banger against Benfica, instead of celebrating the quality of the goal, the headline shifted towards Vini's celebration and a racial incident involving Benfica's Prestiani.
I heard some people saying it's always happening with him. Who cares? So the issue here, why are you trying to move the subject or the situation? Let's go back to the point. What has been said? It's been said that Vinicius Jr is a monkey. What are we talking about once again? What shall we do? And on top of that, he can't celebrate? Where are we here? What are we talking about?
Now you would think that when a player faces racism, the footballing world would stand firmly behind them. But with Vini, it's never been that simple. I mean, look at Benfica's manager, Jose Mourinho, complaining about Vini's celebration in the post-match comments.
Let me read to you in the line that you're talking about what Mourinho told Spanish television just about 5 meters from me. Vinicius shouldn't be taking on 60,000 people in this stadium. How many stadiums has this happened to him? How many? In how many? He's a player from another world, but then you score a goal like that, ... Suggesting, as Kate said, basically, that perhaps he thinks he shouldn't have provoked the crowd. Completely wrong. But
Mourinho saying this is hilarious because he of all people should not be complaining about celebrations.
It just feels a little bit rich coming from Mourinho, not so much the, the racial anger and the Eusebio stuff, but this is a guy who celebrates probably and antagonises the opposition probably more than any coach has ever done.
When he celebrated by running around the Camp Nou with his finger up, it was aura. But when Vini dances in the corner flag, it's provoking. Also, one of Mourinho's arguments was that Benfica can't be racist because their legend Eusebio was black, which sounds a lot like someone saying they can't be racist because they have black friends. Meanwhile, clips circulated showing Benfica fans literally making monkey noises in the stadium. Yet of course, naturally, the narrative somehow kept turning back towards Vini himself. And that's always been the issue for the Brazilian. When he ends up in these moments, it feels like he's fighting alone. Now this time it was refreshing to see Kylian Mbappe publicly support him, both during the match and afterward.
Player number 25 from Benfica, I don't want to say his name because he doesn't deserve it, who starts speaking badly. I don't accept that, but it happens in football. He then put his shirt over his mouth to call Vini a monkey 5 times. I heard it. There were Benfica players who heard it too. And then after that, from that point, everything that you saw happened. This player, for me, does not deserve to be playing in the Champions League. It's an incredible thing to play in the Champions League, the best competition. When we see things like this happen, all the value of football doesn't mean anything. Or everything that we believe in doesn't mean anything. And we have to do something.
But the support isn't always guaranteed. Too often when Vini faces abuse, a section of people come out and say it's his fault. They say that he provokes, that he plays the victim, that he brings all of this on himself.
It suits the narrative, it suits today's narrative, it suits today's narrative. Anything suits the narrative. If you don't speak, you're homophobic, racist, xenophobic, or whatever, that's because it's the narrative. Look, it reminds me of something, I'm going to say something that might offend a lot of people, but just the other day I read something I heard yesterday, or what was it? Something that says nowadays, you can't call a black person black, a gypsy, but you can call a man a woman, huh?
Oh, Jorge, I think that it's the narrative that's running. Me too.
Mourinho said something very similar. You see, what happened against Benfica wasn't the first time, and sadly, it won't be the last time Vini is put in this situation. He's been dealing with abuse for years, and when you look back at everything that's happened since 2021, you start to see a very clear pattern. We're not talking about just one moment at one stadium. We're talking about incident after incident. Early in Vini's rise, there were already problems, but the response to it was weak. During El Clasico at Camp Nou in October of 2021, Vini was targeted by chance. La Liga filed a complaint, but the case went nowhere because the authorities said they couldn't identify individuals. A few months later in Mallorca, fans made monkey noises again, and once more, no serious punishment followed. Then came September of 2022 at Atletico Madrid Stadium. Hundreds of fans gathered outside chanting, "You are a monkey." Even with video evidence, The investigation was closed at first because prosecutors said that the chant was short and that it happened in a heated environment. That decision got a lot of heavy criticism worldwide, and it made people feel they could get away with anything. As Vinny kept improving on the pitch, the abuse didn't slow down. In January of 2023, before a Madrid derby, the Ultras hung an inflatable figure wearing Vinny's shirt from a bridge near Real Madrid's training ground. Years later, the 4 men involved in this were finally sentenced. They avoided prison but received bans, fines, and had to issue formal apologies. Another key moment happened against Valladolid. Fans insulted him as he left the field, and in 2025, a court ruled it was a hate crime. This was a big deal at the time because it was one of the first times that Spanish courts clearly labeled football abuse as a criminal act. Then you have the match against Valencia in May of 2023. That was when everything exploded onto the global headlines. Throughout the game, chants were heard from the stands. Vinny stopped play, pointed at a fan, and demanded action. The match was actually paused, but the tensions were really high, and he actually later got into a scuffle where he was grabbed around the neck. Even with all of the context around that, the racist chants, and everybody hearing it, it was Vinny who was shown a red card. After that match, Vinny posted a message saying Spanish football had become a place where racism was too common. The fallout of that was massive. Valencia received fines and partial stadium closures, and several fans were eventually given prison sentences. You would think that some of these legal actions would end the problem, or at least limit it, but it didn't. In 2024, a social media campaign encouraged fans to wear masks so they couldn't be identified while insulting Vinny. Police arrested several people connected to it, but still the racism continued. Real Madrid even accused referees of ignoring or underreporting abuse in official match reports. The club argued that failing to document these moments made the situation worse. Now, all of this didn't just stay on the pitch. It turned into a bigger battle between Real Madrid, La Liga, and Spanish football authorities. After the Mestalla match, La Liga president Javier Tebas, who's just a terrorist, publicly criticized Vinny, saying that he should understand the league's limits before complaining. Vinny fired back, saying that silence from leadership only helped the problem continue. Tebas later apologized, but the exchange showed how disconnected the league's response felt compared to what Vinny was experiencing. Now keep in mind, it's not just Vinny that gets racially abused in La Liga. He's the most vocal about it, but this stuff has happened to Lamine Yamal. I remember it happening to Dani Alves. Madrid also started pushing back against the referees. After a match against Osasuna, the club filed a complaint claiming that the referee didn't properly include abusive chants in the official report. Now that ended up creating tension with the refereeing body, which defended its officials. Since then, I think there's been a clear standoff. Madrid believes stronger action is needed, while the institutions often respond more cautiously. Now we get to the Benfica incident. Going into this game, the pressure was already high. Real Madrid had lost 4-2 to Benfica earlier in Lisbon, which forced them into the playoff situation. So the expectations were very heavy on Arbeloa's squad, specifically on Vinny, because he was trying to silence the people that doubted him all season. He was leading the line alongside Kylian Mbappe, and he was the main target for both Benfica's defense and the home crowd. The match was pretty tight until Vinny scored a stunning curling goal into the top corner. He celebrated near the corner flag, dancing and gesturing towards the home crowd. I mean, if I scored a goal like the one Vinny scored, I'd probably be humping the corner flag too. He ended up getting a yellow for his celebration because the ref thought it was excessive. And it was here that the tension rose immediately. You had people throwing objects at Vinny, and the Benfica home crowd was really pissed. As this was going on, Benfica player Gianluca Prestiani approached Vinny and spoke to him while covering his mouth with his shirt. Vinny later said that this was done so that he could hide the racial insult. Because he did this, we'll never know what he said, but based on Mbappe's reaction and Vinny going straight to the referee, we can assume it was something very offensive. Mbappe came out and said that Prestiani had said a racial word multiple times. There was one report that came out that said Prestiani didn't say anything racist. He actually said a different term that would be classified homophobic. I thought that report was funny because it was essentially Prestiani saying he's not racist, instead he's a homophobe. After the match, the footballing world was split into two sides. Real Madrid, of course, backed Vinicius completely. He posted online saying that racists hide behind their shirts because they are cowards. Mbappe then supported him publicly and said that he heard the insults clearly, and you can even see him confronting Prestiani on the pitch. Benfica, though, told a different story. Prestiani denied everything and said that Vinny misunderstood him. Then, of course, came the biggest reaction from Jose Mourinho. Instead of focusing on the alleged abuse, he talked about Vinny's celebrations and suggested that the problems follow him everywhere he plays. That comment pushed the conversation back towards the idea idea that Vinny provokes people. And this is where the conversation around him starts to feel really inconsistent. Football has never been short on big personalities or players who push boundaries. Vinny isn't the first player to act confident, talk back, or wind up the crowd. He's not the first to celebrate with attitude. But the way that people react to him feels very different. When he shows emotion, the message is that he needs to be more respectful or calm down. When other famous people, like Mourinho himself, or someone like Jamie Vardy winds up the crowd, it suddenly gets framed as aura or that the game is back. That double standard says a lot about how narratives are built in football. Certain players are allowed to be intense and controversial, and it actually makes them become legends. With Vinny, those exact traits get turned into criticism. Instead of being seen as competitive or passionate, he's seen as a crybaby and someone who's always the victim. And once that label sticks, everything he does gets judged through that lens, even though it can be no different from what other stars have done in previous years. Madrid ended up beating Benfica 1-0 thanks to that goal from Vinny, but the result didn't matter. Once again, the focus had moved away from the football and back onto Vinny and an issue that is significantly bigger than football. Unfortunately for Vinny, he lives in a strange reality. He's one of the most successful and decorated players in world football, but at the same time, he's one of the most targeted. He's a FIFA ambassador speaking out against racism, yet there will always be people who will never like him. The conversation around Vinny is always the idea that he provokes people, that he brings this racism upon himself. People look at his dancing, the way he's always talking to the referees, complaining about calls. By shifting the attention to his behavior, it's almost created a narrative that the reaction towards him, no matter how racist, is justified. Because he's seen as annoying and disrespectful, many people say that the problem isn't racism, it's just a reaction to who Vinny is as a person. Even with new rules and legal punishments, the cycle hasn't changed. Vinny scores, he celebrates, and the spotlight always moves away from the football and back onto him. I think even if you don't like Vinny personally, racism can never be justified. And the better that Vinny plays, the more abuse he gets. To see how he has discovered his good form under Arbeloa, you have to watch this video right here.